Hello and welcome to the Wire Wrap. I'm Shravasti Dasgupta. Facing criticism from opposition parties over allegations of vote theft as well as the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls in Bihar, the Election Commission held a press conference on Sunday. Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar, in his first ever press conference, shifted the onus on political parties and accused some political parties of misleading the public. The opposition the next day accused Gyanesh Kumar of acting like a BJP spokesperson. Now, while all of this was going on in Parliament, the opposition had been protesting throughout the monsoon session against the SIR in Bihar. The government brought in the 130th constitutional amendment, which allows the union government powers to sack ministers as well as chief ministers within 30 days if they have been detained or arrested in custody under serious criminal charges. So what does all this mean going forward, as well as coming up on the vice presidential elections, where the opposition has also fielded a candidate against the NDA's candidate? Now, to discuss all this, I'm being joined by M.K. Venu. He's founding editor at The Wire, as well as Javed Ansari. He's an independent journalist. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get started with the Chief Election Commissioner's press conference, which was really the event of the last week, because the Election Commission had been facing so many questions from political parties and especially relating to the electoral rolls in Bihar. But the Election Commission, even when they announced the SIR, did not do a press conference. Now, over a month after this exercise has continued, Gyanesh Kumar came and did this press conference in which he provided what many would say were non-answers to all the questions were raised. So I want to ask you both, you've both seen chief election commissioners, various chief election commissioners over the years. What do you make of Gyanesh Kumar's press conference?
It was a classic case of how not to win friends and influence people. If somebody were to ask me, how does one conduct a press conference, this was the best example of how not to conduct a press conference. Because neither did forget about convincing others, convincing the unconvinced, and winning over new people, winning over critics. He turned more friends into critics. There was no, he sounded more like an opposition leader. He was hectoring. I've seen a lot of powerful, and so has Venu. We've seen a lot of powerful, very powerful election commissioners. Mr. Session, Mr. Lindo, Mr. Qureshi, Mr. Krishnamurthy, Mr. Gill, all these people. But, but nobody so blatant, so extraordinarily partial as this gentleman is. And therefore, I believe it would have been better if he had not appeared before the press. At least then only people would have said, oh, they are running away. Because he came and he made a bad case even worse.
Venu, what was your assessment of Gyanesh Kumar's press conference?
A complete self-goal. It was a self-goal for many reasons. As you said, didn't answer any questions. And Shravasti, actually speaking, we have attended over the years so many election full commission press conferences during election, during Lok Sabha. Under this government, for whatever reasons, Election Commission had stopped talking to the press directly. No communication. Until recently, we all know, to every charge of Rahul Gandhi, Gyanesh Kumar was answering through ANI. ANI would put out something saying sources in the Election Commission have refuted, have said this to Rahul Gandhi's. Now, we had reached a situation where the Election Commission was talking through a private news agency, which is supposed to be very close to the government. Now, at least, Javed would endorse this. We have not seen this situation ever in the past. And number two, he was so partisan, he was so obviously partisan that he messed up the both response to Rahul Gandhi's documented disclosures of Madhavapura, as we all saw, and even on the SIR. When he was unable to deal with either the Bihar SIR exercise and Rahul Gandhi's response to Rahul Gandhi, he was forced to do this press conference because this man has not done a press conference before. Election Commission, actually, he was not this chief election, but if you recall, Javed, during the Lok Sabha election, they didn't do a single press conference. So they had lost memory of doing press conferences, right? They had forgotten how to do press conferences. Here, my view is, here he had botched up the response to both Bihar, the way he was doing Bihar and the way he was responding to opposition charges, and botched up his response to Rahul Gandhi's presentation. At which point, I think the government must have thought that it's all coming on to them, because every government expects that the CEC, even if it's on your side, you have to be very intelligently on your side, right? You have to at least present semblance of objectivity, which Mr. Gyanesh Kumar was not able to. I think he was told by his masters that please now hold a press conference and answer all the questions, otherwise it's all coming on to the government, right? So he did that, and he botched up, he made things worse, and as we all know, he started saying all kinds of things, Ma beti, CCTV, how can we have CCTV when our mothers and sisters are voting, completely meaningless things. And also that comment, which I thought was totally irresponsible, his comment during the press conference that, so what if there are two votes from the same address, it's not necessary that both are voting. Yes. That means you are endorsing a contaminated voters list. I mean, what kind of logic is this, right? So he clearly botched up, and he clearly came across as an extension of the ruling party.
So let's just tell our viewers a little bit about these arguments that Venu was just mentioning, that in the over 1 hour long press conference, Gyanesh Kumar not only issued an ultimatum to the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, in which he said that all the allegations of vote theft that Rahul Gandhi had made about over 1 lakh votes being stolen in the Mahadevpura constituency in Karnataka during the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Gyanesh Kumar said that he needs to provide these allegations in an affidavit within 7 days or apologize to the nation. Now, but while he asked for this affidavit, he did not make any mention of the fact that BJP MP Anurag Thakur had also made allegations of irregularities in voter rolls in Wayanad, Raebareli and Diamond Harbour, as well as Kannauj, which are the seats of Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, Akhilesh Yadav, as well as TMC's Abhishek Banerjee. When he was asked a question on this, he evaded this completely, did not answer anything on that. He also did not say how many enumeration forms were received in Bihar that had the supportive documents, and in response to why the SIR was being conducted so close to the assembly elections, that too in flood season, he referred to the 2003 exercise and said that the same period, it was 1 month of enumeration forms being collected, but did not mention that there was no election held in 2003 at all. So, and the most interesting one is where he says that the house number 0 is questioning house number 0 is a joke on the poor of this country, because many people don't have houses, and where they come to sleep at night, that is their house. Have you ever heard of this argument that house number 0 is issued to the poor people of this country in all your years of covering?
I don't know. I want to say one thing here. Good old days, there would be some fake votes, duplication, but they would be at the scale would be very, very minuscule at decimal point level, right? They 0.5%, maybe 0.6%, less than 1% of the votes would be of these kinds, But today what we are seeing is, as Mahadevapura data shows, Rahul, 15% of the 20% of the electorate is fudged. So how can they with this kind of contaminated voters list, we can't have elections like this, because we need some, as Parkala Prabhakar said on the wire, we need some voters integrity of restore integrity of the voters list. So this has to be done on all India basis.
And if it's such a foolproof system, assuming for argument's sake we accept lock, stock and barrel what the Chief Election Commissioner is saying, then why doesn't he provide an electronic copy of the voters list?
Exactly.
Why? Let it be accessed.
He's not providing an electronic copy to the opposition. He's providing one to Anurag Thakur, BJP, where there is asymmetry of information. They have all the electronic copies, so they have a full view of the voters list, whereas these people have to struggle for 6 months to physical, copies. which is what BJD also did. For 6 months, BJD studied their voting pattern, and in December last, they petitioned the Election Commissioner. They also claim that they've given affidavit.
Okay, I'll tell you.
That between the final polling figure and the counting figure, BJD has said 15 to 30% extra votes have been cast.
The Samajwadi Party has undertaken a similar exercise. He asked Rahul Gandhi to give an affidavit. He asked Akhilesh also, a couple of months back, to give an affidavit.
And I think he gave
18,000 sworn affidavits have been submitted to the Election Commission from across Uttar Pradesh. And it has been his pleasure not to even acknowledge, leave alone reply to even one.
By the way, BJD MP say that he didn't reply to their petition last December also. He didn't reply. So what kind of election commissioner is as chief CEC is this?
So if we are seeing such a huge, large scale electoral roll irregularities, what the TMC is saying now is that this brings into question the entire 2024 Lok Sabha election.
That's what the entire opposition is saying.
Yeah.
On the last day of Parliament, this is what they told the Prime Minister to his vote. Vote chor, gaddi chor. Now forget the sloganeering, but the fact is that the whole opposition campaign now is built around this and it's resonating. If you just have a look at what's happening in Bihar, the way people are, it's not just MY, Muslims and Yadavs. Muslims and Yadavs alone cannot constitute, this mass upsurge in a way that you're witnessing in Bihar, is because you go to any nook and cranny of this country, you go to even people who are bhakts, they've even begun to speak of this. This is not done. Because elections are something very sacrosanct in India. It's not only a festival, a celebration, it's also assertion of your right. Even the rickshaw puller believes that he has one ultimate weapon, which at the end of 5 years he can wield against the government, through which he can hold political parties accountable. If you're going to even fudge that, if that is going to be forged, if that is going to be distorted, he is in a way the biggest boon for the opposition parties. Earlier they were disparate, they were fighting amongst themselves. They now believe that in this vote chori, they've found an issue, they've found a Sanjeevani, that silver bullet, that glue which will bind all of them together. And you're witnessing some of that in Bihar. Stalin is going. Stalin probably has never been to Bihar, and he doesn't understand the language, but he's going. Akhilesh is going. I'm told that there are talks underway with Mamata Banerjee. She will at some point of time also go there. So everybody is lending their shoulder to the wheel because this is widespread. This is not. This doesn't just pertain to one constituency, one state or one region. Every state this is happening.
So actually Gyanesh Kumar, I think we must give him credit for
Uniting the opposition.
Number one, uniting the opposition. Number two, showing such completely shameless kind of partisanship. And number three, through Bihar and through not responding properly and transparently to either Bihar or to Rahul Gandhi's analysis, he has actually shown to the rest of the Indians that the voters list is hugely contaminated and it needs to be addressed in a non-partisan way, not in the way of this SIR where you're asking people documents and where the agenda is to get rid of voters that don't suit you.
But his argument at the end of the press conference was in which he kind of admitted that electoral rolls are problematic, and he said, therefore we need an SIR.
Yeah. No, we need an IR. We need the 2003 type of exercise, and by the way, there is no such thing as a SIR in the past.
Yes.
There's no precedent of an SIR. SIR has been brought by, at the instance of this government. They want, basically, SIR is in the context of NRC. And by the way, I am told that even they want to take it to Assam now. Assam is also going to election. I am told that their own man, their Himanta Biswa Sarma, he also is getting very jittery about this SIR in Assam. You know what happened earlier in Assam when they did the NRC and they brought out a list of some, 18 lakh people who are to be deregistered. Half of them were Hindus. And the RSS intervened and say, oh, Bhagwat Ji, no, let's cover this up, So these guys, they are so incompetent. they aggressively pursue some exercise and then they get, caught in their own game, get sort of trapped in their own game.
But before we move on, I want to ask you that one argument that the Election Commission is making time and again, not just in with regard to the Bihar SIR, but also about Rahul Gandhi's claims in Maharashtra by opposition parties over there, is that if claims and objections were done at the right time, then genuine errors would have been corrected. This is what the Election Commission in a press note just the day before his press conference said. So in a sense, they are shifting the onus to political parties, but how can this be done? Because political parties are stakeholders in the election process. So is that not a fair system? That's not a fair system, right?
This is a very weak attempt at trying to come up with something to justify his incompetence. It doesn't wash with people at all. You file an election petition and your grandchild will be contesting that election before the result come out of that election petition. It just goes on for ages and ages, and it takes donkeys of years. So I don't know what Mr. Ganesh, which planet he inhabits.
Shravasti, this is a bit like, Javed, this is a bit like the police removing all their guards at night and telling them just look the other way, and then telling the citizens, now you have to now address the theft. It doesn't work like this. See, the claims and objections within 30 days, it's a valid exercise, as I said earlier. If this kind of this contamination of fake voters or whatever, zero duplication and new fake, if these were happening at a very small scale. But when it is 20% of a constituency, 15-20%, like in Madhevapura, you can't, the opposition parties cannot address this. The Election Commission has to address this, They have to clean up the voters list. The opposition parties cannot clean up the voters list, right? So it has to be a non-partisan exercise, yeah.
So what is the way forward? How do you see this confrontation between the Election Commission and the opposition going from here now that the Parliament session is also over? How do you see this confrontation going from here?
Look, there are no easy answers to this, because the government has brought them there for a purpose. So unless there is a tremendous amount of public pressure, which is beginning to build up, but unless it's widespread enough to put pressure on the government, and the courts will eventually have to intervene. Just this business of allowing Aadhaar and all is good, but still not good enough. There has to be tremendous public pressure so that this lot goes. And then you have to address the basic problem, which is the appointment of election commissioners. The courts had correctly suggested that you have the Chief Justice also there. The government used its majority in Parliament to overturn that. You have to revert to that. The selection committee has to be balanced so that you don't have puppets on a string who are being elected and who've been selected there. You need to get that process right. Once you get that, everything else will hopefully flow from there.
But the argument on the other side is that earlier as well, the election commissioners were appointed by the government itself.
So therefore, because it was wrong earlier, therefore it should continue. Is that the argument?
But Shravasti, I have spoken to many previous election commissioners, starting with S.Y. Qureshi, chief election commissioners. Before that, many. You go back to the last 3 or 4 chief election commissioners, after electronic voting system came in, they all tell us in no uncertain terms that during their period, the final figure of polling and the counting and the figure of counting, they would be maximum 1% or thereabouts, which is what the BJD petition also said. In all early elections in Odisha, maximum 1.5% difference between the polling figure at say 6-7 o'clock in the evening, even 11 o'clock in the evening, and the counting figure. How is it that the difference is now 10%, 15%? The CEC Qureshi is on record up to the wire. He also told Rajdeep that it has never happened during his time. Same system, same voting machine, same employees, same resources. It never happened before. Why is it happening now? So there is a very, very strong case. I would regard this as evidence. This is not even suspicion. I think they have to address this. CEC will have to address, or this that the gap between the final voting figure and the counting figure. How does it happen?
So while all this is happening, on one hand, the government, in the absolute second last day of Parliament, brought in a constitutional amendment bill. This was the 130th constitutional amendment bill, along with the Government of Union Territories amendment bill and the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation amendment bill. And according to this amendment, now these three bills have been sent to a joint parliamentary committee after the opposition opposed the introduction of the bill itself, but the government went ahead after brief remarks by a few opposition leaders. So what this bill essentially allows is that any minister or chief minister who has been detained or arrested under serious criminal charges and is in custody for 30 days is liable to be removed by the union government. Now, the opposition has said that this bill is prone to political misuse and opposed this, but the government went ahead and sent it to the JPC anyway. Why do you think this bill was brought on the second last day of the parliament session?
Look, earlier, again, Venu will bear me out. Earlier, whenever a substantive legislation was being brought into Parliament, there'd be consultations, formal, informal, with people across the aisle, and also with cross-section of people, with the media. At least there'd be briefings. There's no such thing. So there's no communication. So all we can rely upon is conjecture and speculation and the reputation and the past track record of this government. So there are lots of things that people are talking about. I'm not talking of what journalists are saying, just what journalists say, but even what members of the ruling combine are saying. There is grave suspicion this has been brought to fix people, to ensure that people follow the line, that they follow the leader. Two, that this is a control freak government, so you extend control, and there are a lot of, and of course, the one motive of this government is headlines management, communication management. So you capture the narrative. You say, look, we were against corrupt. The opposition is opposing this because it comprises of the likes of Lalu Yadav and the likes of Mr. Senthil and all these people who are tainted, who had cases but continued, like Mr. Kejriwal. So therefore, we need to bring this. That's the reason why they are opposing it. But the fact is that they believe that through this, the agenda will again go back to talking of corruption and all. But there is not even one BJP leader against whom FIRs have been filed. I can give you names of over a dozen members of parliament who were earlier in the opposition. They had CBI raiding them, they had ED raiding them, they had income tax raiding them. The moment they joined the BJP, the dry cleaning machine started, and they're now all squeaky clean. There are no charges against them.
So, Indian Express had done this investigation last year where they had shown that 23 out of 25 opposition members who switched over to the BJP had all their charges dropped against them. But the government claims today, Modi in Bihar has said that this was a bill to clean up the election system and to get rid of corrupt politicians. But do you think that the allies of the Modi government, the crucial question over here is, what about the TDP and the JDU? These are two two political parties which the Modi government depends on for its survival. They have, so since there was not much of a debate when the bills were introduced, it was not clear what their support was. Do you think that this could pose as a problem for the BJP?
I have learned very reliably that Chandrababu Naidu, though publicly he has kept quiet, but privately he has conveyed to the Home Minister and the Prime Minister that they are opposed to this method of removing chief ministers. Just on account of some case they get arrested, 30 days they get removed. They have said that this is a violation of certain constitutional provision. They have also provided those provisions, where law and order is a state subject, and removal of CM has a different set of procedures, constitutional procedures. They have privately. I don't think they would agree to this. And as Javed said, the anti-corruption plank is now it is out of Modi's hands. Now the world knows. I have seen some Modi supporters. One, I'm forgetting his name. He comes on TV regularly. He's a supporter of Modi. Now he has started calling this this whole getting all the people against whom there are cases in the opposition, getting them over to BJP and cleaning them, getting them cleaned up through the washing machine, as Javed said. So this great Modi supporter has started describing that as not just washing machine. He says this is a Dhobi Ghat now. The scale is so big that they're running not a washing machine, they're running a Dhobi Ghat. Where they're getting all the opposition, they're cleaning them up, and number two, I totally agree with what Kapil Sibal, he's a legal expert, well-known jurist. He says this is a constitution amendment bill. It won't go through. It requires 2/3. So therefore, it is just I think this government's way of setting the cat among the pigeons and create some new narrative, and divert probably attention away from the vote chori momentum that is building across India. The campaign. Yeah.
But the question, of course, as you were just mentioning, is also the fact that it's a constitutional amendment bill, so it will require 2/3 majority and ratification by states. Do you think that's going to happen? Because now they've sent it to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. The One Nation, One Election bill is also with the JPC. It's been several months that it's just still with the committee. Do you see a similarity between the two, in the sense that they are just going to sit with the committees?
See, as far as the ratification by the states is concerned, that can possibly happen because most BJP and allies are ruling most of the states. You need 50% of the states, but whether 50% of those present and voting in both houses of parliament will happen, that's a big doubt. That's unlikely because look, today it's the BJP. Tomorrow, or whenever there's a regime change, whoever is in center will wield this axe, and it's not just for those imagine a situation in Bihar. If the present trend continues and there's a change, and Tejasvi, being the leader of the main opposition party, becomes the chief minister, that can be used against him. There are half a dozen cases that they've foisted on him. So it can be used. I don't see it passing Lok Sabha like this, unless it is diluted and changed in the JPC. In this form, it'll be very difficult.
Earlier there was some political consensus, correct me if I'm wrong, that political leaders accused of corruption and their cases put to trial should reach some decisive stage before some action can be taken against them, which is one decisive stage, charge sheeting. Charge sheet, framing of charge by the court. And another decisive thing is conviction, which of course takes a long time. Here I want to remind you, the same Prime Minister Modi in his 2014 election campaign, he had promised, if people recall, because he promises so many things, we have to go and track.
Even he finds it difficult to recall.
Yeah, he's promised a fast track court for political corruption, where if political leaders, political workers are accused of corruption, it would be put through this fast track court and decision would be made, special courts, in a very, very speedy way, quick, short span of time. Then Mr. Modi himself forgotten about his promise because it suits him to keep cases hanging,
That was in the aftermath of Rahul Gandhi tearing up the ordinance, if I'm not wrong, that they wanted to show that they are different from that. So one of the arguments that the BJP is making now is that Rahul Gandhi had opposed it earlier.
It was part of the manifesto, BJP's manifesto in 2014, fast track courts for political corruption cases. This was when there was pressure following the India against corruption and all. There was a pressure on setting up a proper non-partisan Lokpal, which also never happened because there you have to set up an autonomous CBI. These guys know. Can you imagine Modi and Amit Shah setting up an autonomous CBI governed directly by like a commission, separate. So I don't think all the promises that they made in this regard, independent investigation and prosecution of corruption, they have all forgotten all that. They put in the dustbin, and they're using the agency, as we all see, against political parties. And by the way, as regards one nation, one election, I loved the comment made by P.T. Tyagarajan, the IT minister, former finance minister of Tamil Nadu, now IT minister. He was on a video. He said that an incompetent, system, whether it's election commission or government, which takes nearly 4 months to conduct general elections. If they were to implement one nation, one election, and if they were to do Lok Sabha, Assembly, Panchayat, municipal corporation, all at one go, they will take 1.5 years. If you go by, 3.5 months for Lok Sabha, if you just expand that, if they have to do Assembly also, everything together, 1.5 years according to PTR.
All right, so we'll have to see how this moves forward, whether it's going to remain in the JPC or it will move faster than the One Nation, One Election bill, which is still with the JPC. But before we wrap up, let's also speak about the vice presidential elections, which is coming up next month.
Before that, please let us know, where is the Vice President of India, Mr. Dhungar?
Yes, this is a big question that a lot of people, including the opposition parties, are asking, is that Jagdeep Dhungar, who was the vice president and resigned on July 21st, which was the first day of the monsoon session. And in fact, he was in the house just hours before he resigned. He spoke about the impeachment motions that he had received against 2 judges of the Allahabad High Court. Hours later, he goes on to resign, citing health reasons. But over a month on, we don't know where he is. But in the meantime, the vice presidential elections are proceeding, and the India Alliance has now projected B. Sudarshan Reddy, who is a former Supreme Court judge, as the candidate against NDA's candidate, which is C.P. Radhakrishnan, a former Lok Sabha MP from Tamil Nadu. And a lot of people are saying that this is with eyes on the Tamil Nadu elections, which is due next year. How do you see this contest, given that the India Alliance does not have the numbers?
Yeah, they did. It's clear as daylight, they don't have the numbers. The India has 3 dozen more votes than it actually requires to get its candidate. So unless they are mass, and this, mind you, is a secret ballot. In Parliament, all other vote, whether you vote for the budget or all other votes, are subject to a party whip. This is not subject to a party whip. So suddenly, if people's conscience awakes, and if you cast your vote based purely on the basis of merit, on the basis of capability, on the basis of a person, then Mr. Reddy stands a very good chance, or else the numbers are there for everybody to see.
But do you think that this India Alliance, with this positioning of Sudarshan Reddy, has flipped the narrative against the NDA? Because the NDA wanted somebody, perhaps there was a lot of speculation that they would field someone from Tamil Nadu. There was some talk about Tiruchi Siva. Then the DMK was under pressure, but then they went ahead and picked someone who's also from the south, but from Telangana, which puts Andhra Pradesh parties like the TDP as well as YSRCP and the BRS in a bit of a spot. So do you think that they have been successful in spinning that narrative, at least, even if they don't have the numbers?
Opposition? Mm-hmm. Yeah, nominally, Sudarshan Reddy would put both Chandrababu Naidu's party and Jagan Reddy's in a bit of a
bother.
They would obviously want a Telugu. They would have been happier if a Reddy was a candidate of the ruling party. But I think they'll go along with the ruling party on this. Both Jagan and Naidu. That's what I feel. And let's see. It's. But the BJP's choice of Radhakrishnan is also interesting, because he is a Gaunda, and Gaundas are very strong OBC, a group powerful group in Tamil Nadu as a social class. They are pretty. Yeah. So, and he's also an RSS, right? He's an RSS trained. So.
He's been a member of Parliament. He and Mr. After
sorry. So I just wanted to So they have now a genuine RSS person, because Dhungar kept claiming that during various proceedings he used to praise RSS during Rajya Sabha, proceedings. He would have a lot of good words, praise for RSS, and I'm told that in recent months he'd also been RSS chief had also been meeting the vice president, coming to his house several times. This is a I've learned quite reliably from people. So I think all this was creating a lot of jitters in the BJP camp. So with Radhakrishnan, I think Modi and Amit Shah can be probably far more feel far more secure.
After what happened with Mr. Dhankar, they realized that you need to get somebody who's a dyed-in-the-wool, ideology-driven gentleman. Mr. Dhankar was not originally a BJP man. He was in Janata Dal. From Janata Dal came to Congress. From Congress, he was in many ways the Mausam Vigyanik that people used to say Ramvilas Paswan was. So he came in, and now they've got somebody who they believe they can totally trust. It's also an olive branch to the RSS, because all is not well between the RSS and the BJP. There's a tussle, there's still an ongoing tussle on who will be the BJP president, because whoever becomes the BJP president, the RSS nod is essential. For other things, you can still. So they've tried to reach out. Vice president, by the way, is a very innocuous position. He wields no power. The only office he or she holds is that of the ex officio chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. He doesn't even have an office. The Vice President of India doesn't even have an office of his or her own.
But being the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha is an important responsibility.
But apart from that, there is very little. So,
and some protocol things like he was upset that Vice President Vance, when he came here, he was supposed to meet him. Always Vice President, when US Vice President comes, there is a protocol. They meet the Indian Vice President, which he's peeved that the government kept him away from a meeting, all meetings that Vance had here.
The problem with Mr. Dhankar was that for a large part of his tenure, he forgot the difference between supine and spine. And when he discovered a spine, ironically, he had to demit office.
But the big question that everybody is asking is that where is Mr. Dhankar? So, do you have any insights on where Mr. Dhankar is?
We are told that he's buttonholed, enjoying his last few days in the new vice presidential residence in Rashtrapati Bhavan. Other than that,
I read a tweet by Rajdeep Sardesai where yesterday I think he tweeted that he finally managed to speak to somebody in the office who said that he's there at his house.
Several opposition leaders, senior opposition leaders, somebody as senior as Mr. Sharad Pawar has also tried to get in touch with him. But they are all told he's not coming on the line, he's not receiving phones. His staff picks up the phone, Saab, Aram farma rahe.
So a lot of people are speculating that is this some kind of a house arrest. So many people asked me. So I said, listen, house arrest has a very, very specific legal connotation, right? You are under house arrest means there are police and you can't go out. I think it's more appropriate, more accurate to say that he's under voluntary house arrest. He himself is not leaving,
Alright, so as the vice presidential elections approach, we'll also keep an eye out for where the former vice president is. Someone who was always in the news and giving statements every other day has gone completely silent in the last 1 month. Thank you so much, Venu and Javed, for joining us, and thank you to our viewers for watching.